Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lizard Brains podcast. I'm your host, DJ Allison Drini. I'm joined by my co-host, Tom Gorman. Tom, how's it going?
What's up? I'm good because we have our first hangout guest for a long time. We got Matt Waldbaum here, everybody. Meme master, GLTC driver, friend of the podcast,
Oh, I didn't
wearing his podcast merch.
get to do an
You're
intro.
on it, dude. Oh, do your intro. We'll compare, Matt, and
Nah,
then you can tell
it's
us
over.
which one was better.
That's great.
Do it. No, you had it going.
No, I didn't.
Block it. You
I
cocked
didn't
the
have
cannon.
one.
Go.
I didn't have one. You saved me.
Well,
if,
hey, man.
if I were to
excited for you to
have
hang out.
one, it would be like, this guest today is a GLTC race winner, solo national champion, the maker of memes, Matt Waldbaum. That's what it would be, something along those lines. But I would do a little bit more
Like
Googling to find some stuff. So
then Vince McMahon would start shooting some T-shirts out of like a T-shirt cannon at people.
doof, doof, doof.
What would be your walk-in song?
That's a good question. What is like the most meme song you could think of?
Like Gangnam
Friday
Style.
by Rebecca Black.
I was thinking like Rebecca Black, like Friday, but it's Wednesday, so I don't know how you do that.
No, not Friday. Okay, hold on.
Uh,
Gangnam Style would totally be more Matt's flavor. Not
Maybe
Friday,
did the
Friday.
dance.
Yeah, if he did the dance coming in, yeah, for sure. That's what would do it. Lena says Taylor Swift.
Maybe I used that when Race Treads was asking like, "What's your hype song?" before going out on track, and they were making a little reel at Road America, and so I did that for Crystal. There's
Taylor
a
Swift?
Taylor Swift song like ready for it, and so they like clipped it in. It was good.
Hey, I don't
I
know.
remember that.
I think Taylor Swift does have some hype songs, just saying. That might be a controversial opinion over here, but there are some hype songs from Taylor.
I've now been to 2 concerts, so I'm a fan.
Oh, well, and I think it was 2023. She was my most listened to artist, and I didn't do that on purpose. I was surprised as well.
You guys are so cute.
We're Swifties. That's actually what this podcast is about. We're just going to talk about Taylor Swift today.
No, we're here to hang out. I haven't got to hang out with you guys in like a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, how's your winter been?
It's been good, just like really busy with work. So I've been like, you've probably even seen it on the memes. I've been like so busy with work and like everything else going on in life that like I was like, all right, let's take a pause. All of last year was each day. I wanted to try to do like 365. I probably did like 360 of them, partially to explore like how does social media work, how do the algorithms work, how do these things, and more for just for fun. I like making people laugh. But it's been really busy.
Did
But
you
traveling around for work and
when you did the memes 360 memes in a single year, did you notice like good engagement and interaction and stuff like outside of our circle, or was it mostly
for
just in
sure.
the circle?
I don't know about interaction, but like just the number of like plays and stuff that would get was actually kind of wild. Like I think I had 3 over 2 million views.
No way, really?
Yeah, and like some of them like,
Wait.
would take off more on Facebook than they would on Instagram, and I'm like, why are they doing that? And there's no rhyme or reason as to which one would like take off. Like I could spend 10 hours crafting like the perfect little meme, share it, 1,000 views, and then one I take like 2 seconds not thinking about, million. You're like,
Which
the
one is
fickleness of the
the
internet.
which one's the highest performer? Like what was it playing a joke on?
Let's open up
I
the
don't know how.
whole
The starter
Instagram.
one. The
Yeah, the
starter
starter one, the starter one with the little bird
I don't remember
is
that
like
one.
making a little like he's making the noise. It sounds like a
Oh,
starter motor,
okay,
and it's
okay.
like when your starter laughing at you when you hook something up wrong.
That one took off. Yeah, okay, that makes no sense. I don't understand the world, apparently.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
like
with you.
1.8 million views
That's crazy.
just on
That's so
Instagram. And I
low.
think on Facebook that one hit like 4. So it's like, why is it higher on one? But that one took off on both.
Now, do
So
you
what I found when I was running both my accounts and running the ASM accounts, I ran ASMs pretty exclusively for like
Yeah,
maybe the first year it was up there. And I found the same thing. Like it doesn't matter what you post, just as long as you post something all the time, which then it's like, well, what's this even for? Which is why I don't really post anymore. It's like this isn't even it's just noise in such a space. At least you're funny. Like me posting for just like promoting myself or whatever, that just feels like throwing garbage into the noise at this point. Like I want to either goof around or just not do it.
yeah,
I don't think I
yeah.
could think
I mean,
of
there was.
something to joke on every day.
Well, it's
Huh?
easy if you have like CapCut. So like it's basically just like a template app that's like from the creators of TikTok, so it's ByteDance, but they just have like all those templates of the things you could overlay, and so you can just scroll through and find one that's entertaining, and then put whatever backdrop you want on it, and then you're like, okay, how do I relate this to cars? What would be like funny with this content? And
Okay,
then
all right. I could see maybe doing
but
that. You spend like what?
it's a
Like
bit easier than that.
yeah, you spend like 15, 20 minutes on it and then you get to see the interaction roll in. I could see how that would be a little
Yeah,
addicting. Yeah.
yeah. It wasn't even like
You
addicting.
know
It was
that
just like kind of makes people laugh. People chat about it. I don't know. Wasn't it wasn't There's no like goal with it.
sure. Do you like being the meme master at all the events? You ever like, hey guys, I can drive too, remember?
Not last year. I couldn't. At least I tried my best.
You did your best with your little bent shock.
You know,
I won the bench shock GLTC championship.
yeah, and
Hey, people with bent legs don't have to run against people with not bent legs. So you,
I think everyone has bent legs.
you know what I'm saying.
Can you
Do
imagine
you want to
trying to
explain that real quick?
Can you imagine trying to run without bending your legs?
It's like a three-legged race. Like when you tie up with like someone,
Yeah.
like the middle leg, you can't really bend.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
have you ever
Yeah.
seen the people who try to run without using their arms or with the opposite arm? So you run
Is that
with
like
your
the
right arm
Naruto
and
choke?
right leg at the same
I
time, and
feel
you
like
can't do it.
I'm feeling attacked because I feel like that's how I normally run, but fine. Whatever, Tom. Anyways,
No, no,
Tom
no.
Tom wanted to explain the bent shock. So like what?
Yeah. So if people remember first race last year at CMP. A lot we were figuring out on the car with the new transmission and everything in it. Ended up having an accident where Ben Thorne caught me after I got turned around and hit my left rear corner and kind of tore up the suspension back there. We throw it back together, like more ASM crew throws it all back together because I'm off making sure people are all right and making sure Ben's okay.
Making memes.
Car is like back together in an hour. Like the ASM guys are constantly ridiculous in terms of being able to keep the cars on track. Um, Go out, do the race. Car's like not perfect, but like yeah, it just got hit, so we fine. Between then and the next race, what would have been the next second race of? Would have been straight to Gingerman last year.
I don't remember the schedule,
I'm
but
forgetting.
you were at a
I'm
different
I'm
racetrack.
forgetting. But anyways, yeah, no, it would have been Gingerman because that was the first race of T2. So we were swapping chassis. The chassis was fine, but there was like a couple things on Andy's T2 chassis that I wanted. It was power brake. Some of the body work was a little bit better, and a couple other little things. So we dropped subframes off the car, moved them over, but everything came off intact. So there wasn't like a pull every piece off and move it over to this other car. It all just went in tandem. First week out in the car, like did all right, was kind of around top 5. At Gingerman doing all right. Car isn't perfect, but there's a lot to learn now with like power brakes. And then just keep going through the year, and it just car something isn't quite right. We keep tweaking little things, changing sway bar, changing shocks. I keep coming off the track and wanting to like toe up the rear of the car. Like it did toe move, We keep looking at it and we just can't figure it out. And then we get to the end of the year, do pretty all right. Still finish 6th in the season, but like off season, like Andy, whole rear of the car's got to come apart. There's something there that's just not obvious. We're not seeing. Shock comes off, and it's bent in a way that you wouldn't see if you were looking at the car straight on, because it like when Ben hit me, it was a straight into the side of the car, so it bent in like a banana like that. And so you got the shock out and you turn it and you're like, oh, the shock was just bent. And it was just a wild feeling that like Tom drove the car, Andy drove the car, and we're like, it's wrong, but I can't point to what it is.
Yep. It
So
was just massively loose, specifically coming from the right rear. And it was almost like the harder you drove it, the better it got, but then it got like extra bad consequences. And if you drove it like a little bit softer, it was just a little nervous all the time. It was very frustrating. It was like as broken of a car as I've driven without being able to say like that's broken, you know?
yeah. So probably like thinking about what was happening, the bent shaft would bind on its way
Yep.
in. So if you drove hard, then it would move past that bind and that friction a little bit more readily. But if you drove super hard, then the bind would probably catch, and then you would really like be asking too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a wild. I'll keep that. I'll add that one into the tool belt if I'm ever driving a car that recently got wrecked and it's indicating that behavior. I'll just be like, I think a shock shaft is bent, and then look like a wizard when they pull it apart and see it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what else would create that very specific behavior after you finding out what it was. Because like after you find out what it was and hearing about the behavior, like that makes sense. But without that experience, how would you ever know that?
Yeah, and it was just like inconsistent too. Like sometimes it would sort of be okay, so maybe it wasn't quite fully binding up, um, but generally just kind of off. It was the worst. Like the worst. Like when I was like something is like absolutely like, wrong. Like we need to figure this out. But like still was struggling with it. Was an autobahn at the end of the back straight. You know the chicane where you like pop over the curb.
Mhm.
Pop over that, came down like on the left rear of the car, and as soon as it hit, it was like I had a million horsepower because I touched the throttle and the car just like snapped around mid race, like right in front of Tony Marchev. Thank God he missed me. But it was
Mm.
like I was positive something on the car broke, and luckily the race finished under full course caution, so I got away with. I was if the race went back green, I was gonna pull in. I told Kirsten over the radio like I'm coming in, but it finished under caution.
So,
And then we like pulled everything apart and it looked fine. We're like, or we didn't pull everything apart, but we like looked under the car. We're trying to see, but it was just bent in a not obvious way.
yeah, because normally when something's
Yeah.
broken, like it's broken.
Yeah.
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 Did you guys like
So after doing a whole year with like pinkies out, you're gonna be like unstoppable this year.
Dude, Road America,
We're
or sorry, Road
manifesting. We're
Atlanta
manifesting.
for off season was so like the car was so good at Road Atlanta. Like in the rain and in the dry, like it was like, all right, this is what this car should be doing. It felt really good.
That's exciting.
did you ever get to drive T3? T3 is the one that you drove, right, Tom?
Yeah.
Did you ever get to drive T3
Um,
to kind of feel like the difference between your car and that car?
there was a like my first year. This would have been 22, 23. Um, at Gingerman, we did like a big car swap, and I was gonna hop into T3, and that was like T3's first year. But the seat is like really narrow, and I was like, I don't like. We were like last minute kind of swapping seats, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to fit in this. So I ended up taking T2, which is now my car. I think Robert drove it for that race, but we all did like a bunch of car swap. That was like we need to bring back fun races to GLTC. Like those, those are fun.
I agree because I just jumped into that race last second in Zach's car, if you remember.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't drive anything for like 4 months, and then Andy was like, "Hey, do you want to race a car?" And I felt like a basketball player that always has like his hooping shorts because I just had my like all my driver gear with me, even though I wasn't planning on driving that weekend, and was like, "Yep, let's do it." And next thing you know, I was racing a car. It was freaking awesome.
There's a photo that I for some reason vividly remember of you like throwing on the suit and Christine's like walking with some of your stuff and she
Yep.
like looks like she's your like hype person.
Well, I had 15 minutes before like I had to be in grid, and I was like, okay, so I literally ran back to my truck, like drove the truck up to the ASM grid, threw all the race stuff on, like brought over like a bunch of different pads and stuff to like fit into Zach's car, and then was like, yeah, good enough, and then went out and did a race. It was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that. I feel like they're just running out of time on the schedule to do anything like that. But why? I just had the
Yeah.
thought. Why wouldn't they do that at some track days? They being motorsports organizers, like why wouldn't they have fun races at the end? Like we do pit parties. Remember? Excuse me. What weekend
Are
was
you
it?
talking at like an HPDE weekend? Why don't they do it? Or like
Yeah, like what if at an ASM track day at the end of the weekend we did like a mock start and it was just like everybody, this is the chillest thing ever, but we are gonna like run near each other.
Oh, is it like an insurance
there's probably
thing?
some yeah, insurance and probably safety. You have to make sure you have like different safety
That's
people
what
there.
I don't know.
Do you need an ambulance if it's wheel to wheel, or like I'm sure like tracks have different like I don't know. How did they do it when Just Track It had the GLTC races
Yeah.
at Barber?
I'm just gonna ask that.
Yeah.
There's basically no difference. Unfortunately, that one, I don't know if it was because we were making it a bigger deal than it actually was or what, but everyone was trying so hard that
They
it would
were.
have to be like a no, we're not trying hard, everybody. This is like hangout.
That's why I think you just call it a pit party.
I think they should do that at more track days.
What, pit parties? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's there's something from that race. There's like a hill that I will die on that like I say it and people like just totally ignore it. Like, ah, whatever, it's the way it is. In that race, because we were at an HPDE weekend, when like something was happening, they didn't throw a yellow first. They threw the black. So like in a race scenario, you were less likely to see black. For a flag that is like so important, like,
I
Tom
know.
has like more bandwidth in a race car than like the average bear. So like we'll always see everything. The rest of us are just trying to live. But like for such an important flag, why is it black and
It's
something
the
that could blend in?
worst.
Why is it not magenta?
We've talked about it should be pink. It should just be a pink flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally agree that every track should go buy a highlighter pink roll of duct tape and just run it along the edges of every flag,
Yeah.
every black flag that they have.
Yep, they should. You know what, Tom? If we ever end up just throwing our own track day events, we're just gonna go to the events and force the track to use our pink flag.
I gotta text like Matt Busby and stuff and ask what like there's got to be some council of motorsports people that are all in contact with, and we can just like make this happen. You know who we should go to? Those HPDE instructor little class people. Who are they? What is that thing called? Where
What?
you get level 1 and level 2?
Uh,
We should
yeah,
try to fight the fight with them. Motorsports safety.
yeah. We'll start a
MSF,
movement.
MS Motorsports Foundation.
The
That's
pink
what it is, I
flag
think.
movement. Wait, wasn't that like for like cancer or something or
It's,
like what was the little
it
pink
was
flags on like the back of cars? Was that breast cancer?
Yeah, the pink ribbon,
Yeah.
like the
oh yeah yeah.
Yeah.
I thought of a different thing.
So yeah, those should absolutely, or yeah, maybe even the black flag, but you know how like the blue flag has like a yellow stripe like down the center of it or whatever?
something.
Yeah, just like a black flag with like a highlighter purple. How does that
But
work?
anyways, the context for everyone in like who's probably listening, like what are they talking about? Why did this cause an accident? There was like 5 cars racing nose to tail coming out last corner Barber. Black flag was being waved, but when you're like nose to tail, it's sometimes hard to pick up on something like that that's blending in. And then that ended up like someone got caught up in a collision that found the wall. Rip Aaron Lichty's Miata.
What if what if there's a conspiracy that the flag stays black so they can extra yell at somebody that's in trouble? Because they're definitely missing at least the first one.
You mean they're doing it on purpose?
Yeah,
Wait,
it's like put your tinfoil hat on, everyone. This is big racetrack influencing this.
Dynaco. I think I don't really subscribe to this mindset because I don't think if you're missing flags, you shouldn't be even you shouldn't be a competition licensed person.
You're telling me you've never missed a black flag before?
If I did, you should get consequences, I guess. I don't know.
Should the
Not
consequences
never in a race. I can't think of a time that I've ever missed a flag in a race.
Well, you never see a black flag in a race.
has missed all sorts of flags, just doesn't know it.
Maybe, but they're just letting me get away with it. I've missed flags on purpose, but I don't know.
What was
I
the
think this
checker or
whole
whatever
like
you
we need
missed
to make
it?
flags better is like why were flags wrong for these people were getting in these little death tubes with gas strapped to them and the flags work just fine. I don't you know what I'm talking about? Like what was wrong
They
with it
probably didn't
back?
work fine.
Maybe they didn't though.
I
Like
don't
maybe this has been a
I
problem
don't
the
think
whole time. For the 100
I
years
don't think we
that
should be lowering the bar because motorsports has become more accessible. I think we should expect people to be able to do
yeah, but
like basic awareness of like your flags are around
can
that lets you race.
but okay, I hear you. Yes. But the black flag is just intrinsically flawed because it literally looks like the background of like trees and like the darkness or like a dark wood flag station that the corner worker's standing in. Like it all looks the same. I've never missed a flag that had color to it, but I have missed black flags before. And when I go back to
Sure.
look at it on
I
video,
agree with that.
I'm like, oh, I couldn't see it. It was like literally in the trees. Like I'm not like if it was tree color, it would have been exactly as invisible. Like I'm not gonna see it.
Right. Ooh, how about this tiger stripe?
I would see that flag
Yeah,
100%. Especially if it was like
they're great.
yeah, especially if it was like the pink tiger stripe. You know what I'm talking about?
Pink I don't know why you're trying to make everything pink, DJ.
I think it should be a pink flag. I'm gonna die on that hill.
No, I like that. I think either the pink bars or like orange bars, neon bars.
Yeah.
Like you know the surface flag
Does that get too close
with
to
stripes?
meatball though? Because it's black with an orange ball. If someone at like speed sees black and orange, they
They
think
don't know
meatball.
they
Whatever.
don't know their stripes from their circle.
It's gonna be the same thing.
Your
You gotta come into the
car's
pits.
damaged. You need to come in.
iRacing joke. Uh if you I mean, whatever. It's the same thing's gonna happen, right? You're like, was that a black flag? Whatever, I'll just come in. Like
Wait, what are we talking about?
if like the meatball flag came out saying like there's
Oh yeah, same effect.
it's the same
Yeah, I get it.
effect. But
But I'm saying do it the stripes like the surface flags. There'd be
yeah,
like 3 stripes through
yeah,
it.
that would work too. Just need some
And it
color
would
on
look
it.
like jail. It's even better.
Yeah.
Jail.
Yeah.
So, Matt, what's your first event this year?
It'll be Road Atlanta, so we're not going to do CMP. I think collectively, like ASM was like picking out tracks we wanted to go to. Um, that one's a longer tow for the crew coming from Wisconsin, a little bit further away from like hotels and stuff, and we've done it a couple times. But I hadn't done Road Atlanta, so a couple of us are going to do that one. So it's going to be a bit of a bucket list. It was going to be like we haven't gone, so let's go. But then our usual winter like test, we usually go to Barber, and that got snowed out all the way down in Birmingham, Alabama. So we ended up switching and went to Road Atlanta anyways. Now I'm doubling up on Road Atlanta this year.
Was that your first time at Road Atlanta?
Yeah, it was.
Is where
It was
does
a
it
lot of
rank?
fun.
Where does it rank in the racetrack hierarchy of Matt Waldbaum?
Ooh, big question.
It's a big question.
There's a right and wrong on this podcast.
I don't know if you listened to the bracket episode, but
I like it. The back straightaway is long at GLTC speeds. I actually really liked the S's a lot more than I thought I would, because like in iRacing you can take the S's in most cars just like completely flat, and I'm like in GLTC speeds like this is gonna be kind of boring. But it was actually much more fun in GLTC speed than I thought. Um, there were some spots where you had to be inch perfect that I really liked, like getting over like the curb at turn 3 and like knowing when to turn in and like getting that figured out. Like the flow through 10A, 10B was a lot of fun. Like the downhill at GLT speed, the downhill at GLTC speed is awesome because it's like just perfectly flat. Like
yeah, it
any
is.
faster and it'd be like
Yep.
a little sketchy.
Yep.
So I liked it a lot. It would probably be top 6 or 7 track.
Whoa, that far down the list? Okay, what's number one? Jesus. You know what?
I
We tried
I
to
need
have
more
a
time
guest
there.
this
Is the
week,
thing.
everyone. We tried.
I need more time there. The problem is just the back straight is long. Like my
Yeah.
number one would be NCM.
All right, all right.
Like
You
just
can stay on the podcast.
that track. Like there's just so much to it, so much to get wrong. Getting a perfect lap there is nearly imperfect. So like that makes the lizard brain happy to keep going out there and chasing for more.
So the back straight at Road Atlanta just gives you an opportunity to appreciate all of the great racetrack that you just got to drive through. So I don't know. That's not a lose in my book.
It's like the perfect interim for the best play, you know?
Yeah.
That's a great analogy.
But
I
I'm
also
excited.
think turn 6 is one of the most underrated corners of all time at Road Atlanta because it's just like it's not hard, but it's always satisfying
Yeah,
and it's fast and it's like easy, but you still feel like a hero. I love that corner.
yeah. I like that one a lot. No, I mean I love the track, and I'll probably have a different opinion once I get some more laps there. Because like the first day was like all in the rain, and then we got like a little bit of dry in the second day. So I'm sure after like a GLTC weekend and like a normal weekend versus just a track day, like I'll probably have a different perception.
Well, you know the track from iRacing as well. Like it always
Yeah,
races super well. I think that's probably why it's so high up on my list is that it's a really fun track to lap, but also it just races like super super well. You can kind of separate yourself from the S's. You get a little bit of a draft on the back straight. It just makes for good racing. It's super good. I think 10A
yeah,
10B is like a super fun dynamic at the end of that long straight that where it's a little game of chess going on, like how much positive or negative overlap you have, what side are you on, that kind of changes the approach and how you attack 10A, 10B, and just that play and that dynamics is just like super entertaining to take part of. So I
yeah.
think you'll love it. Is that race going to be broadcasted? I know nothing about the Grid Life season this year, by the
I
way.
don't think so because it's paired up with Formula Drift that weekend,
Don't
unless
they
they've
have a
somehow.
broadcast?
But the thing is like their broadcast is only going to be positioned around like the stadium at the end of the lap in 10A,
Mm.
10B.
Yeah.
So that schedule is also going to be wild because we have to get all of our races done, but like basically by noon.
Oh,
So I think there's even some tweaking that
Oy,
needs to
oy,
get
oy.
done on the schedule because like I think practice the first day is like 8:30 and then qualifying is like 9:10. So like you're pulling up the track, I have to go right into grid for like qualifying. Like grid life needs to move some things
Crazy.
around to
so
make
do
that
you
one work.
do you just have like a second set of tires like ready to rip because you don't want like super hot tires after the practice?
Yeah, I mean logistically they're gonna have to move it. Just like the provisional schedule, I'm sure they were just like crafting up and putting on the website. It just probably ain't gonna work.
Yeah, I wonder at what point it becomes better to just do 3 races and not break everyone's back because there was already coming close sometimes. I was going to ask, the S2000 being terrible at CMP has nothing to do with why you didn't go, why you guys didn't want to go.
I like the racing at CMP. If there's someone on the like group that would have voted for it, it'd probably been me. I liked racing it.
Well,
It was fun.
because
I like
Tom
the
was
track.
saying last time you were there, it didn't go so well.
Only in race
Well,
3.
I'm saying the S2000s are slow as shit there.
Oh, okay, maybe that too.
I was feeling really racy, like right up until I got smoked. But
That was race 2? 1.
Well, uh,
three,
Tom,
there's three.
the joke that you're making, the S2000s were kind of slow everywhere except there was one track Lime Rock, right? Were you guys most competitive at Lime Rock last
I
year?
mean, I
Lime Rock
do
or
we wanna
Pit.
go into that? Because I would not agree with that,
Which okay,
but
which
I don't need to.
what was where did the S2000 have the most chance last year, Matt? Even with the bent
I mean, like
chuck.
Lime Rock, Autobahn. Hit like strong lap time, but the raceability is tough because you have those like three long straightaways in a row. So when you're racing, like
Yeah,
there's not much you can do.
and the entries there are a little tough to pass on, and they're really diggy on exit. So any kind of speed impaired, the lack of torque is gonna
Yeah.
hang you out to dry. So
Be cool to see how it plays out this year.
you doing any autocrossing this year, Matt?
Nothing currently on the schedule. I'm sure I'll get roped into something eventually. But
Wait, isn't it Primo autocross season down there right now? You should be out there, like, every weekend.
I know, but
January, February in Austin?
I've been like just crazy busy with like personal travel and work travel. Like Bay Area multiple times. Was in London for a week. Where else? I have like a
Buying a
whole
house,
spreadsheet built
getting
out to keep
married.
track of where I am. Yeah, getting married in December. Um,
Most people just use a calendar. This is how you know Matt's a nerd is that he has an Excel spreadsheet for his schedule. Like, most people just use calendars, Matt, just FYI.
well, no, but yeah, I have to keep track of like, have I bought the flight? Have I got a hotel reservation? Have I got the rental car? Like, and we'll fly and go places like 15, 20 times a year. And like you just like lose track of these things, and suddenly you booked a hotel you didn't think you did, then you book a second hotel, and suddenly you're paying for two like.
I take it
So I'm like,
I take it this has happened before.
no, I've just been worried about it. I was like, this is
So
getting out of control because Crystal would ask me like, "Hey, do we have this or this?" And like this, we just need to have this in one place
so
because we're gonna
you know what
lose
I
it.
do? This might be the most boring podcast ever, but so what I do is if I have a trip, I make a Google Doc of that's the name of that trip that corresponds to it in the calendar, and I put like the rental car
Yeah,
information, the hotel information, the flight information, all that stuff in that one doc. So if I need to refer to any of that stuff, and check, oh, did I do any of that or whatever? I just go to that doc and that tells me everything that I did. I just pull little screenshots and throw them in there.
yeah, same type of deal. It's a Google spreadsheet, so like we can all hop into it and change stuff, and it's got all the details.
I
Uh,
just do everything off the top of my head.
do you?
Am I a maniac?
Have you
Yeah.
have
For
you
like 10
ever
years, I've done that. I just book stuff and usually I book in chunks, like, pretty early. So I might get to a month before and be like, "Oh, did I book that?" And I booked it 6 months ago.
how do you like what, you just go searching for the confirmation number on the flight every time in your email or something?
In the app. If I'm flying Delta, it'll be in there. If I'm renting a car from
How do you even know what
Expedia, it'll be in
airplane
there.
you're flying? I can't keep track of it.
Well, I usually only fly Delta or Southwest, so
Oh,
I guess it's a
okay.
little easier to track. So I only have those 2 apps on my phone.
Gotcha. Okay, okay, okay. So I just there's only a couple flights that leave from Cleveland, so I guess I could
Sure.
probably
I
maybe
don't
do
think
the
I've
same.
ever messed up I don't think I've ever messed up flying. The closest I've ever messed up to travel was the day I stayed at your house, and I got to Cleveland Airport at 4:45 in the morning, and for some reason, pre-check wasn't open and the line was an hour and a half long. So I was like, SOL, and I had to beg my way through the line, remember?
Sometimes pre-check's not
I think
open?
that's yeah, they've started to have pre-check hours.
Oh.
Do
Oh,
they have
like
Really,
those in
super
not
Austin
really.
early.
yet?
Yeah.
Oh, so if it's, like, super early, it won't. Okay,
Or
alright.
late? Yeah, if it's, like, after 8 PM, sometimes they close it.
Alright,
Yeah,
I'll keep that
smaller
in mind.
market airports, that's common.
Yeah, gotcha. So I finally talked Christine into getting, TSA PreCheck because 'cause we're going to, not this weekend, but next weekend, we're going to Vegas for the Vegas Pro Solo, and I've had pre-check just for work for a while, and I've been trying to talk her into getting pre-check, and finally, because I was like, "Oh, I," she dropped me off at the airport, and then I text her when I was at my gate, and it was literally like 10 minutes later, and I was like, "Please get pre-check because I don't know if I'm gonna wait in line for you. Like, I might just see you on the other side. Like, I'm not gonna just stand in the line
You're on
I
your
don't
own,
have."
babe. See ya.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna stand in the line that I don't have to stand in.
I think, and then I have a question, but I think it's the most worthwhile upgrade you can buy yourself for travel because it's like 85 bucks or 100 bucks and it lasts 5 years and every upgrade or anything you can do with an airline is immediately like 50 bucks. So if you like think about it that way, it's $20 a year to even if you fly once a year, you've still gotten a better upgrade than buying from any airline like anywhere. But Matt, you travel basically most of the time for even racing. What's your like top travel tip for like making
Hmm.
travel easier?
I mean, just leaning in on like pick your brand and just roll with it. So you like build like the tier statuses for things. So like Southwest, we have like the top status, and we get the companion pass. Like anytime I fly, I just click a button
That's
and
also
add
nice.
Crystal for free. Like we've saved like tens of thousands of dollars on flying. It's ludicrous.
Yeah.
And same with like hotels, to the point where like now at Marriott, I can like request a 4 p.m. checkout, and they have to give it to me. So wherever like a track weekend or whatever, we can leave their stuff in the hotel, get done with the track, and like go shower, then pick up bags, and then
Ooh,
leave.
dang, that is a cheat
That's
code.
And a lot of times they'll also let you check in way early too. They don't have to wait for like 3 p.m. Like I've showed up to hotels at 8 a.m. and be like, "Can I check in?" And they like look at my status. They're like, "Oh, yes, you can."
Okay, all right. I've
Do
uh I've
they call
started.
you do they all call you Mr. Waldbaum? Welcome, Mr. Waldbaum.
They
Thank
I'm
you
probably
for
like, "I'm
do.
not
staying
that
with us.
old. No."
Call me Mr. Meme. Um I've started saying that IHG hotels just because they're really
Mhm.
consistent. They're just every single Holiday Inn Express seems like every single other Holiday Inn Express. I used to do Quality because they were pretty cheap, but sometimes you stay at like a Quality Inn and it's great, and then other times you stay at it and you're like, this is not like it's not even a functional bed. Um, the breakfast was not worth eating, like, but Holiday Inn Express, it's like, like $15-20 more a night, but it's the
Yeah,
same every single hotel you go to.
they are probably the most consistent. I don't stay at them, but like when I do, it's like this feels exactly the same as the last time I was here, or
I
like even a different
I don't
location.
know how they do it. Like, I don't know how it's in the because like all the furniture and the beds and everything is like the same every single one I go to. So they must have recently maybe did a huge upgrade or something. But like, I don't know how they would have the capital to like just upgrade like the entire line like every however so often. But yeah, that's why we stay there. Christine's always been a proponent of Holiday Inn Express, and I fought her for a long time on it, but now I'm on the train.
Yeah, we leaned in
That's the one that
on good.
no, you go ahead. I was gonna
I
say
was gonna
something
say
smart ass.
we leaned in on Marriott, and Marriott helps me a lot for like the big cities I go to for work. Some of the racetracks you can't quite find a fair field, so that sucks sometimes. But I was gonna come back to one thing, Tom, you said about like pre-check. I think the one thing that I'm curious, other people agree with this, but another hill I'll die on is I hate everyone who has clear. Like we didn't need another line to jump in front of other people, like to walk up and scan your eyeballs, and like you're in the pre-check line already to the front, and then they're like, "Oh, you need to hold on, sir. This person over here who had his eyeball scanned gets in front of you." Like,
I
come
I
on.
have always like I don't understand the point of clear. It just reminds me of like iRobot for some reason. Like everybody thought it looked like a cool thing, so they want to get their little eyeball scanned, and now they have something they don't need. That's what it feels like
Yeah,
to me. But is it like a higher priority? I've
it's
never really
supposed to
been
be,
jumped
but
by
so
it.
many people
I
have
feel like
signed
I
up
only
for
get
it, and the process takes like I don't know if I've seen an airport where it's actually been faster. I've seen it San Francisco, it'd be faster by like 2 or 3 minutes before,
Yeah,
but
it's
yeah.
it's like nothing. By the when I go to stand in the TSA pre-check line, by the time I like pull up my boarding pass and my license and whatever else they're gonna ask me for, or like potentially ask me for, because I feel like it's different every single time I go up there. By the time I have all the possible things like ready to show them, I barely got that ready by the time like I'm going to the agent. So I don't see the
I think most
the point
people
of clear.
most people get it like because they just have the American Express Platinum card and it just pays for it. So they have it so they can walk up and go which line looks longer, and then they hop into whichever one.
Oh, maybe.
I
But
thought
like
it
it's
was
still
maybe because
annoying.
Clear's international, and I just Googled it, and that's not true. So I don't know what it's for. I think it's so people can feel cool scanning their eyeball.
I don't.
I
It's
think
not that
Delta started
cool.
rebelling. Delta has started rebelling against them. They have their own like pre-check thing now where you can walk up and it just like looks at fixture your face and knows your ID, and you can just walk right past. So I think they're like, why is Clear getting a share of this? Like Delta's like, this is ours. Get out of here.
Tom, I used to get my retina
How long until
scanned for when I worked at nuclear plants, that was like part of like the process of going through the gates. You would do retina scans. It you you just look into a thing. It doesn't feel cool. It's just like I don't know, maybe doing it like hundreds of times a year like made the coolness factor go down, but it just felt like like a fingerprint getting readed. Like that wouldn't be cool.
Trying to think like a person who has uh more money than time.
That 3 minutes is
Because I
really
think that's what's
valuable.
for.
Because then they're just gonna go wait at the gate.
No, they're gonna go wait in the lounge.
What's the closest you've Matt, what's the closest you've cut it in terms of like when your depart time was to when you got to the airport?
Not intentionally. Like I walked up to the gate, walked in, they slammed the door behind me.
No
That
way,
was
really?
here's another time zone issue. I was in Atlanta for a work
How
trip,
dare
like
you?
beginning of my career, like cranking away in Excel, like, and the person I'm with is one of the people that like has no problem missing a flight. That's how close they want to cut it, and I'm like cranking away. But they know I'm like chief dad, wants to be there like 12 hours early, and so like I'm cranking away, but my laptop has not adjusted for the time zone. And eventually she's like, "Wow, you're like not nervous about cutting it close on this trip." And I like look at my clock and I like look at my phone. I'm like, "The phone is adjusted." I'm like, and so we're like sprinting through like downtown Atlanta to like the train because the car was not going to get us there fast enough. We were sprinting through the airport. I like ruined a suit and sweat.
Oh, that's so. Have you ever seen the old Top Gear? Do you remember James May, the old like the old man version character? He had this whole thing where he like wouldn't run on camera, and I kind of
Yeah.
have a hill I'll die on that I will not run in an airport unless it's like I can think of once that it was emergency enough that I actually ran. But I'm like, no, 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 I'm not going to be that person. No matter what, I'm not going to run on camera. I'm not going to run in the airport.
Is the time you ran the time you were at my house?
No, I just begged to cut the line. There was nowhere to run. It was just the line was long.
Oh, gotcha. I feel like I would rather run than beg to cut the line.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I wouldn't choose either. But I'm just saying, you probably always have the 2 minutes to walk. That's just my opinion. People running in airports look crazy. That's why I don't want to be that guy.
What if they had like little sweatbands on and they had like a little head sweatband? Then you're just like, look at that person getting their morning run in.
Like
Yes,
mall
then it's
walkers, but
okay.
for airports.
Yeah, exactly. That you know what?
Damn.
I'm packing that just in case. Just in case the TSA pre-check goes awry. I'm throwing in the sweatbands. So like when it's like, okay, I've literally prepared for this moment. Like I'll be putting them on in line, like getting ready to like look like I'm getting my morning workout in. No shame. No shame running to that gate. Like we'll be fine.
Wait,
You're
you're
gonna, you're gonna
waiting in
get
line
there.
doing your stretches,
Yeah, yeah,
like
exactly. I'm
warming
like,
up.
yeah, yeah, like, but like really like elaborate stretches where I'm like bouncing and stuff.
Yeah, grab your bag and just start running.
Yeah,
Everyone's
yeah.
oh my god.
I'll even get my music going where it's like on my phone where it's just Eye of the Tiger as I run by. So just really lay into it. Like if people are gonna remember me looking like a fool, at least I will fully lean into it.
Yes, at least make their day.
Yeah.
Um, Matt, I had another question. Other
Yeah.
than other than racing, what else is your favorite hobby, and why is it bothering Andy Smedegaard?
Favorite hobby.
And why is it
I feel like you're
bothering
asking.
Andy Smedegaard? You missed the
I'm
important
trying to
part of
think
that
what.
question.
I
I'm
don't
just
bothering
I'm
Andy.
messing with you.
Why? Because I have other hobbies that money doesn't go into his pocket.
No, 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 no. I wanted to open the door to you and Andy and your fun dynamic with your car and all that. You like to poke fun at
Um.
him, and he pokes it right back.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like I enjoy a good shit talk. But that's partially because I probably grew up playing hockey, and that's part of the game is like chirping at each other.
Mm.
And he grew up like I don't think he grew up playing hockey, but just like Wisconsin, it's sort of the same thing. If you watch like Letterkenny, I feel like I don't know.
Bud.
I feel like the little community up there is like an offshoot of Letterkenny to some extent. Like everyone's like happy and fun, but like shit talking each other. Love going up to Plover. I was gonna see if we'd come up for like the grand opening for ASM, but we'll see how it lines with the I gotta consult the spreadsheet.
What do you mean the grand opening?
I think Andy was gonna do like we've moved into the new shop and let's go like slide around and drift in the oval track that's like right behind the shop now.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Let me ask him if I can say it's an open house or not. I don't know if it's supposed to be like public or not.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like a
Well,
public thing
just
or
don't
He's
say
not.
been
the
calling it
date.
an open
Yeah,
house.
don't say the date. It's not like people are going to camp out or give the address out in the, the chat or anything. Don't do something
Yeah, that's
crazy
not
like
good.
They
that.
would.
Yeah.
That's not Googleable at all. Not Googleable at all.
It would be a terrible business if you couldn't Google his location.
I think
uh,
he has removed his cell phone from the number on the ASM website used to be his cell phone. And I think when I was first working with him, it like didn't like connect with me that like it's just kind of Andy in the shop working. And so I like called it once and he just like picked up and I was like,
and
oh,
you can hear him like wrenching on something.
yeah. 'Cause I think ASM definitely has this perception that it's like this big thing. There's probably people who run like the front desk at the shop. And you like get up there and you're like, oh, Andy does like a lot. And you don't even realize it. He is like punches so far above his weight.
But I think anybody who's watched Andy at the racetrack, you kind of realize that he's a little bit of a one man show when it comes to uh like literally just keeping all these cars that want to rip themselves apart because they're race cars and that's what they do. I'll
Yeah.
never forget the time where Tom lost an engine at Autobahn and they threw an engine in that car and like it was less than an hour and a half. It was in blown engine out, new engine in, hour and a half later. Like, granted, it wasn't just Andy and a bunch of people standing around. Like, it was a whole team effort, but like that was just part of like the ASM crew. It was just like that collective team effort to like make sure that that engine was back in the car. Like, we're coolant, oil, all the accessories switched over. Like, it was actually I even helped. I held a hammer for a little while. I forgot if I hit anything with the hammer, but I
I remember this story.
definitely, yeah, I definitely had a hammer. I don't remember where I came into play, but I feel like I hit something at some point. So that
They're
was
crazy with engine swaps. So like the one at ECR, Tom, with the red car, or no, with the silver car. Because I was driving it when it blew up, um, and took it back to paddock, swapped an engine, and had it back on track in the same race to like shake it down, and then like was like like he was tuning on the shifts. He wasn't even like worrying about the engine anymore. He was just back out there like tuning the shifts
And
in
that
one
was the one
race.
they took their time doing because the race was 8 hours long, so they had more
Yeah.
time.
yeah.
Yeah, Eagles Canyon. He
Yeah.
mentioned it's not like it's not gonna have like an entry that it's public, but it's like public enough. So if you live less than an hour, 2 hours from Plover, um, just message one of us. We'll tell you. We don't need it to be like crazy.
I'm flying out.
Excuse me.
But trying to think back to your question, Tom, on like other hobbies. Um, big
I just
food.
needed to. I wanted to bring up Andy, but yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Tell me about snowboarding. You snowboard, right?
Yeah, you almost
Skiing.
you, you almost died at one
Mhm.
point doing it, right?
Yeah, I'm a
Oh,
skier.
that's
Crystal's
right.
a snowboarder. I don't know if I can like get up close enough.
Oh, you
There's a
got
little scar
scars from
here.
it?
Yeah, like nose broke slightly. Not that it needed to like be reset. It was just like slight
Yeah, it
fractures
is a
there.
little crooked. Matt laughs.
Damn.
It might be. I don't know, but it looks the same as it did before. So
I
it was
don't know.
definitely crooked before.
Turn your head to the
If that
right
was
a
the
little
case.
bit. Other
What
right.
What's worse,
Yeah, it's a
crashing a
little
race
crooked.
car or crashing into a tree with your body?
Well, I just crashed into the ground. Gravity did its thing.
Oh, okay, which is
Um,
worse?
that was definitely
This is a
worse.
weird. Would you rather?
I don't know if has anybody ever crashed into the ground in a race car? I guess if you got airborne, then you crashed into the
That
ground.
Honda Fit guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That was wild.
Yeah.
Joey
I think
Hand
of
in that
other.
BMW, Mid Ohio one where he launches and
Oh yeah.
Well, no, I'm thinking of that CMP one where like he went barely off track and then just like end over end.
yep, that one too.
Yeah.
He crashed into the ground for.
Apparently, just Honda Fits do this a lot. In the SCCA runoffs, I don't think it was a Honda Fit. I think it was a Ford Fiesta, but that just flipped all on its own.
2 years in a row, same car.
Yeah. It had a Hawk
It's so
livery on it.
It did.
Those brakes.
That's how good the brakes are.
Yeah, they
It
just
did it
flipped
so
the
hard to
car.
shift over.
This thing defied physics.
These DTC 60s sure are Grammy.
They
I mean, once your tires become a square, it's probably more likely that could happen.
Womp.
Yeah.
So
Is your sim rig set up yet?
It is. It's sitting right over here.
no.
It's
Oh,
been
that's good
set for a long
tradition.
time. The actual problem is just like every time you turn on your computer and there's like 12 hours of updates, and I don't play enough. Like oh yeah, let's hop on and play with the boys. And like, there's 4 hours of iRacing updates. I need to do like Microsoft updates. That was like the biggest thing.
Well, now it's ready to go, right?
Yeah, yeah. I did the iRacing. I soloed the Lizard Brain
Oh
Enduro,
yeah.
which was
Oh,
ludicrous
that's right. I forgot that you participated in that.
in my Dodge Viper.
Why do you say
Whopper.
Dodge Viper?
I had the Aston Martin with like the red livery with the white stripes. So like, if you just glanced, it would look like the Orica Viper.
Okay, is that what you're going for?
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed it. I'm not enough
Mhm.
of a car guy. I'm sure somebody got it, Matt, but I'm not enough of a car guy to understand the reference.
Are you a car guy? Classic question on
Car-
the Lizard Brains
I mean,
podcast.
cars are annoying, and by most, I would definitely align more with you guys, especially for like the
I
way
don't
that
know.
I've gone about participating in like motorsports. Like, started off doing a lot of co-driving and autocross. I had my own car and I was autocrossing, but wasn't doing a lot of work on it. Like, working on it was annoying. Then like autocrossing in Chicago, when I didn't have a car, I was doing a lot of co-driving. That made it a little bit easier to on my time of not having to deal with all the car stuff. And then when I started doing the wheel-to-wheel stuff, still in Chicago, so I needed like someone to help with the car transport and everything. That's where the connection with Andy made a ton of sense. And like, I wish I had the skills and the reps to be able to like be good at putting that stuff back together. But it definitely gives me anxiety if like I were left to my own devices at the track. If something were to break, like, oh no, that's just gonna like ruin the day. Like, I'm gonna be like spending way too long trying to figure this out and trying to like get it correct. Partially because I'm a perfectionist. I'm not just gonna like zip some like self tapper screws into it and call it a day and it's good. Like, I want to make sure it's sort of like together and right.
Yeah,
So
I
Yeah.
mean,
I'm definitely like maybe less of a car guy. I would like enjoy the purity of the competition that is motorsports.
what's your daily driver?
GTI.
That's kind of a car guy car.
I have not modified it at all. Have not even tinted the windows. It gets like 40 miles to the gallon, and it's like economical, and it was cheap. I don't know.
Tell the people what happened when you got it.
Yeah, yeah,
When you
yeah.
first got it.
Because it didn't ride very good.
Like, oh geez.
Did-
So
Matt, you've got through a wide gamut of things that people can find wrong with their cars if they don't have an explanation.
so bought the car like tail end of COVID when it was like hard to get your hands on things, and it was coming into the VW dealership. I spoke for it, put deposit down, and like showed up. So like, I'm sure whatever pre-inspection delivery process they went through was like shortcut. They just like threw it on the lot, threw me the keys. But over that period of time after I got it, I was literally moving out of Chicago. So I like drove up to Plover. We drove over to Gingerman, and we had that weekend where you were coaching there. Um, and then we drove back. So there's a lot of like highway driving. So not a lot of like big bumps. And then I got down to Texas and starting to go over bumps. I'm like, this just like, it's riding like way more stiff than I would anticipate. Because there was a little bit of room that would like, it would ride okay on the highways. But once you start going over potholes, it's like big bumps. They hadn't taken out like the spacers, like the shipping spacers from the shocks. So there's like this much room that was all just like plastic
About like 3 to 4
bushings, and then
inches.
like this, but like this much room of like actual travel, like
About
a
an
tiny
inch.
little bit, so I could like, so like the front like shocks were all screwed up, and I had to yell at the dealer and get them to replace everything.
Did they replace the shocks and everything?
Yeah,
Oh, that
yeah.
was expensive for them. Oh my goodness. Because those are all
It
like
was,
active
yeah,
dampers and stuff like that, right?
yeah. No, these are just stock dampers. That I think
Oh,
maybe in
okay.
the like the higher trim ones, maybe they're fancy. But it was like a bigger ordeal than you'd think because I bought it from a dealer in Chicago, but I was then now in Texas,
Yeah.
and it was like fine driving there. I didn't really like 100% notice it until we were here. Um, and so like I'm going into like my dealer here, they're quoting you a number, and like dealer hours can be expensive, but it wasn't outrageous for like changing out both shocks, parts. It might have been like $2,000 or something like that. So like set of shocks probably 700 something, and then like labor on top of that,
I don't
whatever.
I don't know
But
what the
like the other dealers,
margins.
like you could just
Yeah, go
say it
ahead.
again.
I don't know what the margins are for a dealer selling a new car, but like $2,000, that's probably like the money they made on that car.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But I had to go back to them, and they're like, "Oh, that quote is way too high. Like, you should just bring it back here. We can do it for you." I'm like, "Well, I'm in Texas now, and if someone brought a car into you and like wanted this exact labor quoted, like tell me what that number would be." And like the guy like never responded to that, so they ended up just having to pay me.
That's so
So
annoying. I recently saw a video of a car with no shocks, just springs, going over a speed bump, and it just like boing, like bounces perfectly in unison for way too long. That's what I picture your GTI being. Every bump, just boing, boing, boing.
Was it like covering up the bump stops so you didn't even get bump stops?
Uh,
Just an
no,
internal spring, right?
there would
Between two
still
coils.
be no, there's still a bump stop in there, but it's I'm trying to remember back to when I was like pulling them out. I was like, it was like 100 degrees in Texas at night. I'm like in my garage. I get jacking this thing up, pulling them out. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
I would be
Um,
so annoyed. I'd
oh,
be
I was
so
so
annoyed.
mad. It was like, um, so I think there was bump stop, but like you just get to them so much faster. But it was fine over normal roads. But if you ever started hitting potholes, it was not great.
When me and Christine recently bought a Mazda 3, and it had like an aftermarket exhaust on it, and we bought that car to be like the quiet road trip car. So an aftermarket exhaust like obviously wasn't working, but they found the OE, like the original exhaust from because the guy that used to own it was like their porter or whatever. So he brought it by. I verified that it was there, and so then we bought the car. And I went to go pick up the car, and the sales guy's like, "Ah, yeah, I threw it in the back for you." And I'm thinking like it got thrown in the back. It's like bubble wrapped, all this stuff. It was just the exhaust on like the
Exactly.
leather seat with all the sharp like points, and like so like the seats got like gacked up a little bit, and I felt bad for the salesperson. Like they were, I don't know, probably like maybe 20, 21, somewhere in that like range. And I I was started to raise a stink about it, and I was like, "You know what? Nobody's ever gonna sit back there anyways, like, whatever," and we just, like, went away, but, I remember they were like, "Oh, well, what can we do to make it right?" And I'm like, "Okay, I'm not gonna have them, like, jump through a bunch of hoops on a used car or whatever," but if that was, like, a new car and you literally buy it for it to just be like, "Any mark on this car happened while I owned it," uh, I think I would have just been like, "Well, I need new seats."
Did the aftermarket exhaust not like throw you for a loop? I feel like I'm always nervous when I see someone who's like modified something on a car for the street. That is not like a car person that I know that would like sort of do it the right way. If I see just a street car with like a different exhaust on, I worry that someone has just like beat it up.
Maybe if it had, like, a turbo on it, but it's an automatic Mazda, like, what did they do?
That's like worse. That's like someone has their Nissan Altima and they've changed out the muffler because they want to be a little like louder,
No, that
and then
doesn't
they're
sketch
doing
me out.
Mach Jesus in
That's
between
fine.
like lanes.
It's a direct injection engine. Actually, if it was floored every time, that would probably be better for it because you wouldn't get carbon buildup on the valves.
The old Italian tune-up.
Yeah, exactly. It drove
Give it a few
fine.
unknowns.
It drove fine, it wasn't leaking anything, and it had lowish mileage, and it was fine. I feel like you would notice if something was, like, a little like, if I hopped let's for example, if I turned the FRS that Peter Schnorr sold me, if I turned that back to stock, it would still drive like a car that has hit a wall at a racetrack at some point and has 90,000 autocross and track miles on it. It would still feel like that, or at least look like that too. If I jumped in that car, I'd be like, something's not quite right here, right? Like I would know. You would know just jumping
Yeah.
in the car, like that
You'd
like this
think.
thing isn't really operating the way that it absolutely should. Though I will say that the Peter Schnorr car that I now own has kind of had all those things replaced. So I guess the only way you'd be able to tell in that car is cosmetically. But before we replace the transmission and the other suspension components, you would just be able to know that like it's not there's better examples than this car.
We might now, but would you 10 years ago? Because I don't think I would. I remember a period where I was on Craigslist looking for like E36s that were slammed because I thought they looked so cool. And finally, one of my friends was like, I'm not going to let you buy that car. That's a terrible choice. And I bought something else, but I wouldn't know any better. I think I would have driven it and be like, it's loud and it's cool. I like it.
I I think I think now I'd be able to tell if it's like tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yes.
yeah, 10 years ago, no way. I wouldn't have any idea of what I would look at it and be like, "Oh my god, it's the color I want." And then that would be it.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't have a chance.
It's got a wing. Yeah. Okay, on the another classic question on the topic of talent versus effort. Matt, what is your like experience from the driver's perspective? Where do you fall? Pop
In
quiz.
terms of like me or like my opinion of like
Yeah,
who is
what's
the
your
most talented.
experience and what do you think about it?
Does talent exist?
I think talent absolutely exists. There are people you can like throw into a car who like have no intuitive sense of how things work, and they can't even explain it to you, but can just like do. Like you guys have talked about people like this on the chat before or on the podcast before.
Who?
Um, I think like Tony
Ooh,
Chow.
name 'em.
Tony
No,
Chow. Okay, Tony's a little bit of an outlier. Tony Chow, he's won like 2 national championships, and he just
he's proof of existence.
I think he autocrossed for 2 years, and then on year 3 he won like a national championship, and then on year 4, which skipping COVID, he won another national championship. Uh, but I would argue that Tony Chow was absolutely 100% laser focused on autocross for those 4 years. That's how Tony got as
Yeah.
good as he was. Is that was like the thing that he was focused on. So when it comes to the talent versus effort, I we don't know the inner workings of Tony Chow and what work he was putting in the background. But anytime I've dug into this, oh wow, is this actually? Did we find talent? No, it turns out it was just like a bunch of hard work, like that was like just done in the background
Yeah.
and you didn't notice it.
I mean, I would lean towards hard work because even like people go through life experiences, they play different sports, they develop different like characteristics of like spatial awareness and depth perception by doing X, Y, and Z that then translates very well to racing. But there are also like genetic things that people are just bad at depth perception that is like you can't teach like your body to understand things in a better way.
Okay, I can kind of get that. Yeah, or like something that I've noticed kind of recently, and me and Tom have talked about this on the podcast is, but just like pitch sensitivity, just like hearing pitches with like more
Hmm.
resolution than other people, can come into
Yeah.
play because different parts of the car make noises, but specifically like the tires on the road. If you're aiming for a specific frequency that the tires should be making when you're optimizing their contact patch, then that's an advantage that you have that you might be using not even realizing, and people with better pitch sensitivity would have an advantage in there. And I don't necessarily think that that is a trainable thing. So I could totally see in that regard. I've softened a little bit on this talent versus effort. Just an update for the podcast thing, because I do realize that there is intrinsic characteristics that would aid somebody in their ability to drive a car.
But maybe they got that ability to sense pitch because they were like growing up in a musical household and they learned to play instruments and whatever, and they like just fine tuned to some of these things. Like
Maybe.
I would lean, I don't know, I would lean on like learned experiences and things that put you in environments that teach you some of these like basic skills that then can be applied to racing.
Yeah.
I would lean. I think both are true. Like there are examples of both, but I would lean more on like learned talent, even if it's not specifically car talent.
When when you first started competing,
Yeah.
were you any good at this?
I mean, I was like a little kid in go karts, so no.
Okay. I didn't know.
Like my first day
Really
out in a
good
go
go-kart.
I
kart.
didn't know. I didn't know Matt was a karting kid. It makes so much sense now, Tom.
But like wasn't doing like kart racing. It was like out. Do you know Raceway Park of the Midlands, which was Mid America Motorplex?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Um,
very serious karting.
yeah, I mean it's a big road course and like a little like go kart that can do 70 miles an hour. Like you're just kind of sitting on a straightaway. But like it builds like it's the building blocks of like learning the kind of what it feels like and what happens when you spin out. So I don't know.
When was your
I would,
first
and then before that, probably like video games, like playing like Forza or Gran Turismo, and like learning lines and how cars work.
was video games the first time you competed in a car or in something with an engine on it, or was it karts?
No, probably video games, but like that's a controller. But yeah, video games for sure.
So was the karts you were just driving by yourself? Like you didn't go to do any races or anything like that?
No, because we're like there's not as much of a karting community around Omaha. My brother, or sorry, my dad and my brothers had like faster like I forget what these were called, like 110s or whatever I forget what the size of the motors were. Um, but theirs could do like 110, so like shifter carts without the shifters on them. And
Rotax.
mine was like yeah, the Rotax. I forget whatever motor size, whatever number comes after
Yep.
that. But like they could be out there racing each other. But since I was young, I was in like a little KT 100. So I think that was the size of the motor. I think it was a KT 100. So like I'm doing like 70. So those dudes are like blowing by me at like 120, and I'm like the little toad out there like, those the other cars. Like, holy
Oh no!
that okay. But like, all right. So how old were you when you were just like putzing around on a wide open racetrack in a go kart?
I don't know, like 4 or 5.
Did you do that till you were like a teenager? Or like, what does the transition look like?
Was doing that for a bit. Was playing a lot of video games like Gran Turismo, Forza. And then eventually just started autocrossing when I was 14 or 15. But in cars, didn't ever like actually compete in karts other than like going to like your local indoor karting place.
Yeah.
But like solo Nats was in Lincoln, Nebraska. I grew up in Omaha when like national championship sites 45 minutes away, and then you can go drive cars as fast as you want. I'm like, yeah, let's go do it.
Okay. What was the first thing
My
you
first ever
autocrossed?
autocross was in Lincoln.
That's you got spoiled, and then you started going to other
Yeah,
sites, and you're like, what the heck?
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, first first ever kart autocross was my first car. It was a Mazda Speed 3.
Oh, hell yeah.
My parents wanted
All
my,
that
my
understeer.
parents wanted me to learn on the car that I was gonna like drive
Yeah.
and like maybe do sporty stuff in. And so they like bought the car for me when I was like 14 or 15. So I was like learning to drive a stick and everything. So by the time I turned 16, I wasn't like jumping from like whatever I was like learning in dad's Suburban and then jumping into something else, and it's totally unfamiliar.
Yeah.
When did you start doing national events? Because that's how, when I first met you like you were doing autocross stuff as well.
Yeah, I did like solo nats, I think that first year. Like didn't do well. These were back in like Hoosier days when you're cramming like giant Hoosiers onto little tiny tires. Like wasn't like as hardcore and like the competition of it. It was just fun. It was local. Did a few years of that. Then went to college and it was harder to like keep up with some of that. So did
Hmm.
some like local autocrosses out in Ohio. Tom and I were probably in the same room at Full Throttle down in Cincinnati, but had no idea because our motorsports club for our college would go down there and like rent out the facility for like a few races.
When was this timeline? Let's
Um,
see if it matches up.
this would have been, I mean, I graduated in 15, so this would have been like 11 through 15, 2011 through 2015.
Yeah, and I worked there when it opened in 2011 to 13. So yeah,
Yeah.
I was probably running. I
Um,
was one of the people in the red shirts. I didn't stand out from anybody else. You were one of the people in the helmets walking around that
yeah,
didn't stand out like anybody
That's
else.
cool.
yeah. And another GLTC competitor who was actually part of like the motorsports club at Miami, Scott Heckert, was there too. Um, there's
Right, I forgot. Scott raced the same Corvette DJ raced last
Yeah.
year
yeah,
at
He's the main
PMP.
driver of that car, which recently
yeah.
got sold. I don't know what Jacob's plans are after selling that car. Have to bug him at some point.
Yeah. Um,
So did you get the
Continuing down.
bug when you went to these early events, or did you get the bug? You've already always been competitive. You played hockey,
Oh
all this
yeah,
like it's just
yeah. Loved like online racing. Well, even though Forza is like not the best in terms of simulator of like racing.
it
Still
was
Loved
competing
then.
go
though.
Forza
karting.
4 was pretty lit.
Yeah, it was good. But every once in a while, you'd have like some doofus just like not break for turn one.
Oh, that was like
Sure.
literally every race. What do you mean every once in a
Still,
while?
still happens in iRacing, but
I feel like you just got past turn one, you dodged all the shenanigans, and then the race started.
yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you'd have a
But like
interesting race because you had to come from behind because you got caught up in the shenanigans. Like that was just the Forza experience.
yeah, yeah. But like so finished school and went to Chicago for 2 years to do investment banking, which is like grueling work. Think like 100-hour weeks. Like you're leaving the office at 2 a.m. and needing to be back at 8 a.m. And so there just like there's no room or opportunity for cars for 2 years. But like the goal was okay, racing's expensive. We need to like maximize like earnings to be able to do racing in the future. So it was like a short term like this is gonna suck. So did that for 2 years to get a really good resume item, a lot of good training, and then found a new job after that that opened up more free time. So then came back to racing. Was co-driving in Chicago with Chuck Matthews in an E Street car, um, and like all the fast, pointy people at the time were in Chicago and E Street. So like the first year we went to Nats, it was like Bartek Borowski won, I get second that year. I either got second or third, and then West Genrich got like third place. We're all like local, so like we go back, and like every event was like a national event, and it just like upped and upped and upped, and like really like drove competition. You start like thinking way too much about autocross and like how to like be better at it, like almost like an unhealthy level. But like did a few years of that, and it was like a ton of fun. Then eventually like had a place in Chicago, had a parking spot, bought the SSC car, did a few years of that, got second in SSC, like probably like tightest solo Nats podium of all time. Someone probably is gonna call me out, but like
No,
I was
it
point
was
zero
less than
zero
a
five.
tenth. It was less than a tenth
Yeah,
between the top three. Yeah, that was stupid
yeah.
close. I think it was less than a half a tenth, wasn't it?
I was 5 thousandths behind Mason, and then Jimmy was 7 thousandths behind me. So
Yeah, it's wild.
like it was
Damn,
ludicrous.
0.005. When it gets that close, sometimes I wonder what the tolerance of the timing beams actually is. You ever think about
Yeah,
that?
Yeah, like what
yeah,
hertz does it run at? I mean, it
yeah.
has to at least run at 1,000 hertz to get like a thousandth of a second. But
I've heard 4 digits, but I don't know what the tolerance is. It's not even worth finding out because then you just realize it's all made up. You're like, "Oh,
You just
shit,
like frustrate
it's a
yourself.
10th? Oh, no." Be better than that
That's
guy at NCM from 1 lap, though.
okay.
oh no. Oh, that was
But I think that was
Tom, I
the same
forgot
year
about
that
that. Hold on, Matt. I got to be triggered for a little
yeah.
second.
Go ahead.
Just so people understand what Tom's meaning by the guy at NCM. During one lap, there's like an
Clearly.
autocross segment, and we're all fighting for like every spot because every spot is like an additional 5 points, and that matters, right? So we have like all day to do this autocross event while we're also doing laps around NCM. And it's like drying conditions. So like we're not sure when to get in, and then there's like a cram at the end of the day. And we're all within what were we like? Well, Tom kind of like smoked everyone, but then like second to like 11th was all within like 3 tenths of each other. And we found out that they were hand timing it because they couldn't get the timing equipment to work. So somebody could be 11th when they actually probably got second because they were hand timing it. Like this was an acceptable option. Like it should have just been thrown away. Ah, it didn't work. We'll try again next year or whatever.
It was fine.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fine because Tom won.
You guys just needed to go 4/10 faster, then it was definitive.
Yeah, it was definitive. Tom definitively won. Everyone else was like, meh. Like I ended up fourth. So I was like, okay, cool, whatever. But it could have been worse.
Yeah.
But
The pain in your face, Matt, with your eyes closed was, like, more than I could bear for a moment there. He's just like, "Oh my god, nah." Alright, sorry, we cut you off. You had your SSC car for
Yeah,
how long when we ran it together? That's when we met.
yeah. We ran it in TT. We did it at TT Nats. That was like I
Year
hadn't
was
been on a
that?
track. That would have been 22, 21, 22.
it was so hot. You guys
Right.
remember how hot it
Yes,
was?
21.
No.
Yeah, and I somehow got food poisoning like the night before, and I didn't even know if I was gonna make it.
Oh, I don't remember
And like
this.
Remember this.
Oh,
I had to like I showed up the next morning versus like the night, and I like the drive down was like I was not okay. I mean, I had to like swap wheels and then try to drive on track, and like it was the first time not on track in a while, and I was just that whole weekend I was not good.
well, it was also like the hottest weekend ever. It was like 96 degrees and like
Yeah,
90% humidity. Like the whole, like even at night, it was miserable. Like normally there's a bunch of hanging out happening at Time Trial Nationals. If we didn't have Tom's parents' RV, we would have just died.
we still went inside and played Mario Kart with the Switch on the like put the projector down. You remember that?
Yeah. Yeah. That was fun.
Or was that next year?
I don't think it was that year because I think we were still like around COVID ish time. So we were just kind of sequestered into our like own RV.
Yeah, maybe that was next year when I was driving the Miata.
I think that's true. I think, they also need to bring in someone to do, like, a seance over NCM and figure out why it's so natural disaster prone and always so hot, or pouring rain, or, like, having a natural disaster. Tornadoes, lightning, like, come on, we gotta get a voodoo master in
God's
there,
country.
or yeah, if it's Bible country, we could get some like, the pastor from the local parish to come down.
Or like some locust, the
Yeah.
death of a firstborn.
We get a bunch of candles, just put it all the way around the outside, the whole facility.
That would let's and then we do some night laps. That sounds fun. But yeah,
Hell
that
yeah.
that was fun. That year, where Matt, you came down with the SSC car, and I somehow talked Tom into driving a slow car at a racetrack when he could have literally drove probably anything that was there. That was fun because that was the most stacked a single class at Time Trial Nationals has ever been. Uh, and it was kind of hyped up. It made like the whole weekend much more fun. Like Tom smoked all of us, but like we had so much fun that week. I blame that I was rusty.
That was a lot of fun.
That was the first time driving for the year. And Tom, you were already in a car for like 8 weekends leading up to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
I want
times.
a rematch in the
All
SSC
right,
car.
let's do it.
Yeah, we'll drive mine this time.
I think we've inverted weights. Like before, I might have been lighter than you by a much smaller margin than you are now.
I could
of
throw
me.
some ballast in the car.
No, I don't need excuses. I'll make it work.
Okay. I'm going to NCM on the 6th. Do you want to come with?
No, it needs to be a neutral car. It can't be your car.
Okay, it's a SSC car. They're all the same.
No, you're gonna do something weird to it.
Okay, yeah. I don't want to
Just to
drive
get me.
I don't want to drive your car. Last time I drove your car, I sent it through a field.
Yeah, but now it's got actual dents in it, so
Yeah, okay.
you can do
So
whatever we want with that one now.
I'm
Oh, when are you getting your Corvette? Your C8, right? You're getting a C8?
Matt's getting a C8?
Me?
Oh, congrats, Matt.
Every like 5 seconds in the chat, I'd be like, Aaron Lichty, is my C8 done yet? Because after they started making those at Winning Formula, just to like throw everyone off of like what the next GLTC car could be, and then and then it was just another S2000 with
Oh, that's right. When you were swapping the chassis over or whatever.
yeah.
I think a
So
C8
I spent
in GLTC or like their new GT4 thing is just a matter of time, right? Come on.
yeah, it would be good. I haven't driven one yet.
I'll take Aaron's word for whatever he's been doing. And did Andy drive it at Putnam? Do you
He,
remember hearing
Yeah,
from him about
he
that?
yeah, he
liked it.
did.
He
Yeah.
liked it.
He liked it too, I thought. Yeah. And then the C8Z that I drove was awesome. So like I would totally think that's a great shot. Like, why would you not?
Aaron was
If
throwing
you could afford it.
Aaron was throwing the keys to a bunch of people at Putnam, and I will say half of the people that drove it ended up with a C8 like a couple months later. So,
Yeah.
like, it must have been pretty good. My dad just bought a C8
Fair.
actually, so I'll probably drive it this weekend. Not in anger, probably just like killing some bugs on the highway or something. But
You have to tell me your thoughts because the base stock ones I thought was absolutely atrocious.
I mean, I've autocrossed one
By standard
before,
of like what should
and
be nice.
it felt like a little bit of a bowl in a china shop. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
But I'm sure it's a great street car. Like, I'm sure they're freaking
Yeah.
awesome on the street. Elena's like, my dad also just got a C8. And then Whitney's saying, my dad wants a C8. So that's the most. You know what? I probably dropped the ball on this. I'm not going to get him in time, but I should have got some New Balances for my dad. I feel like, in some jean shorts.
Well, it's not too late. You got to do that.
I think he
You got to
already
bring us
has.
some cutoff
I
shorts.
think my dad already has the jean shorts. I just needed to get him the New Balances.
And the tall socks.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
You got to have
Thin
matching ones. You got to
thin
go to
t-shirt.
Walmart.
What?
Yeah.
We take a father son picture next to his Corvette wearing all Corvette garbed out.
Shirts tucked in, brown belt, white shoes.
Yep. Okay. Yep. All right. This is gonna happen.
Goes up to HPDE. I'll be in advanced, please.
It could be on your Christmas cards.
Dude, I was trying to get my dad to sign up for an HPDE that's like near his house, and I just could not get him to sign up for it. I said, like, cause I was gonna like talk to the organizers and make sure that like I was his instructor in the car or whatever, and we were just gonna go do laps and just like, I don't know. I was looking forward to like just like bringing my dad out into the racetrack and being like, and it was gonna be in my car, like, hey, just have fun, like do whatever. I'll make sure like nothing bad happens, right? I'll let you know if something like is going awry, but like just go out here and have some fun. Like that's what my plan was, and turns out it's harder than it looked. And then I tried to get my sister on track, and she didn't want any part of it. And Christine's already established that she doesn't want any part of it. I'm throwing a car at people, and they're not taking it.
You must be strong.
Oh, that does. Go ahead, Matt.
Nice. He went. You must be strong because I'm throwing the car. Tom,
Oh.
we got Tom there. He got there eventually.
No, I was gonna ask. I didn't check this question before we got on, but you guys probably have some of the most supportive significant others that I know in motorsports, like broadly. Do you have any tips? We've talked about significant others a little bit before, but do you have any tips for like either going to events together or like the compromises that go with that? And Matt, do you have any experience with this? You don't have to answer personally if you don't feel
Yeah.
comfortable.
I mean, like we talk about these things because like Crystal has things that she likes to do, and I make sure to go do those things with her. I have things that I like to do, but like a racing trip weekend is a big, or it's a bit bigger ordeal than like most hobbies. It's like usually a 4-day weekend. There's travel involved.
Yeah,
I
but
think
she
a lot
comes
of
most of
times,
the time.
yeah, she does. One companion pass with Southwest helps, so she can like come for free. It's like option value. Um, but a lot of times, like we'll try to find things around the weekend, maybe like stay a little bit longer or come a little early, and like do things or maybe more oriented towards us or her to like make it just not a solo like about me.
Yeah.
Like she is like an absolute angel for coming to the tracks and standing around when like that's definitely not like quite her environment, but like being there and supportive and with like with a group of friends.
Yeah.
But it's definitely like you have to be cognizant of it. It can't be just like, why aren't you coming to support me? Like you gotta like pay attention and try to make it an open environment and fun things to do. Introduce like your significant other to people that are around. Like 'cause I think without like the ASM paddock and like having those friends, like it would like she's not just gonna sit in the truck and just like watch me wrench on a car and hang out. Like you gotta build that community.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. I think the making sure that you're making time to go do the things that they want to do. So it's not like when you guys leave the house and do an activity, it's always the thing that like we're passionate about. Um, I, I, for me, I have to actually like schedule that out. I have to put it on my calendar. Matt probably has to put it on his Excel sheet, um, to make sure that like that time is like spaced out so it doesn't get swallowed up by like racing stuff or something else that's important to me. Like we actually have to block off that time to make sure that it stays there as that time that we're going to go hiking or going to go do this other thing or whatever it is. So that's and Christine lets me know if it's getting too much, like if I have to like reel in the lizard a little bit. But like, yeah, just that communication is important. Because left to my own devices, it would just be like 365, 24/7, like racing stuff all the time. And then I would just be like a dried up dead lizard in the corner, still wanting to go racing. Um, but is that you, Tom? Tom's raising his
I
hand.
think so.
So
No, I'm
like,
kidding. I'm kidding.
yeah, I think it's like you if you know people listening to this, I think you have to communicate. I try when I'm signing up for something, I'll let Christine know like, hey, I'm filling this space on the calendar with this thing. This is my plans. And then if she has a chance to go like, well, hold on, you forgot about the thing that we were gonna do or whatever, or it's hey, I'm gonna be out in this area. Maybe we can go hike because we'll be like on the west side of
Yeah.
Michigan or whatever. It's like try to incorporate it in some capacity. And if not,
Yeah.
then you plan like other things. Like Matt, when you and Crystal go to a race weekend, like I'm sure there's plenty of other times where you're like, well, we'll be in this area. We can go do these other things that, maybe Crystal's more interested in, but because we're in the area, we're going to do those things, anyways. Right.
Yeah. There was like a week that we took off before like the week before like Gingerman from Midwest and like went up and down like the coast of like Michigan, like went out and did a beach day, went up to Holland, which is like the little like Dutch town where they have like the windmill and the tulips, went to a bunch of cool restaurants. So yeah, lots of little things like that. But those are like things that are tough and like hard to plan and do because it's like more vacation days, it's more like hotel time, and like you got to be like really strategic and like thought out. Like you can't build the whole weekend of just the track and then back out into it. Like back out like, okay, what are we at on now?
Yeah.
So you gotta be like way ahead of it.
Yeah. Exactly. So just some planning, goes a long way. But I think at the end of the day, communication is going to be like the most important thing. They can't just feel like a passenger along, like just hanging onto your little lizard tail as you're like flapping through the wind.
Yeah. No one likes to ride in the car. Remember that.
Christine likes road trips, so
Figuratively.
that's okay. I was gonna say.
No, it was a figurative, like, you don't wanna be the passenger in the race car. No one They don't either.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, Whitney asked a great question too. She's out at Hastings. From your parents are out near that way, right? Your mom?
Yeah, for a long time was teaching like the intro like class at both Hastings and Raceway Park of the Midlands / Mayhem of like, let's make sure you're okay to do the open track day on Fridays. And so would teach like the intro to track stuff at those two tracks for a
Right,
long
right.
time.
Have you ever shared the track with your parents?
With my dad, yes. My mom, we've been on like in cars, but not like in race cars. We've been in like street cars.
Gotcha.
We were all supposed to be on track in 22 at Topeka, where we had like the test day before, the ASM test day before. But my
Oh yeah.
mom had like had a fire in her car like right before, like during a shakedown. So like the car got kind of burned up, so I wasn't able to come out. So it was just my dad that was able to come out. But he was in his like
Gotcha.
944 turbo. Like he goes out like once or twice a year. Probably doesn't get out because he's like still working a bunch. And it like they put it on the dyno after, and it was down like 100 horsepower.
Oh no.
Ooh.
Wait, was he gonna
um,
race
I do remember
GLTC?
him being like, "Damn, those grid
no,
life cars are so fast."
yeah, it's like Joel Morrison apparently like ripped by him in the corners. He was like, "Holy cow!"
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fun. That's
I
cool.
the
But
first time I got to share the track with my dad a little bit when we overlapped in racing, club racing. I got to bump draft him once, and I just remember sharing the track with my dad in a race, and like doing that was so fun, even though we only did it the one time, and he was so mad at me that I bump drafted him. You hit me. Like, I'm just helping.
Did you have like was it an actual race?
It was in qualifying, but I thought I was helping.
Yeah. Yeah. I uh I bump drafted my coworker driving on the highway once.
In what?
I was in my Fit and he was in like this 380,000 mile Camry and I just bumped him because I thought it was funny.
Hobby.
Yeah. So it's
I
about
wouldn't
the
have the balls
same.
to do that. I've passed someone on an on-ramp before, though.
Oh,
I
have
did like
you?
an a late brake maneuver up the inside of my friend. It was Jinx Jordan, actually, and he said I
Oh,
scared
okay.
the
It's
shit out
somebody
of
you
oh
him.
knew. I
no,
thought you did it to a stranger. I'm like, oh my God, Tom, you're a
No, 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 no.
lunatic.
No.
Oh my God, that would
I
be
would never
crazy.
tell you
I've been
about that.
tempted before if somebody's going like really slow on an on ramp and you're like, come on, you're putting me in danger. Go. Like just pass
Yeah.
them before like the lane changes or whatever. But I've never had the balls to do it because I don't feel like having some weird road rage like Russian dash cam thing going on. Like I'll just build a run behind you like it's endurance racing.
Tom does it
Yeah.
and was like, and the guy was a sore loser. He turned his lights on and pulled me over after too.
Oh, that would be a nightmare.
It would be a nightmare.
Yeah. Matt, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Hold on, I gotta find it. Okay. Uh, what's the future of Matt's Motorsports look like? Have you thought about it? Like, what do you want to go do? What like are you like? What does you just stay where you're at, or what's the plans?
Yeah. I mean,
Ooh,
kind of
and
GLT.
piggyback, last classic Lizard Brains question, what would you do if money no object with racing? But answer the first part first.
Um, I mean, the current like plan is like GLTC. But I don't know in like years beyond that. I haven't thought that far. I think like I generally start thinking about the next year, like sort of the middle of the season, because you just need to plan a little bit ahead. If you get to the off season, you try to plan for the next year, you're in trouble. But like I could see wanting to do more like the endurance stuff. Like the Eagles Canyon WRL race last year was a lot of fun. Like it's a much different style of
Yeah, it
racing.
is.
It's not like we're not burning the car down. It's like here's your lap time, run it. To the point where I was like so locked in on a lap time, and like Aaron Lichty came over the radio. He's like, "We need you to go a little bit faster." And like I was just so in the zone that I wasn't even like paying attention to that. I was like, "All right, how many more seconds faster you need me to go?" And just like he gave me the number, and I was like, "All right, boom," and just like hit it over and over and over. And it was just like it was sort of like meditation where you're like just in this like zone of like just focusing on everything just the right way, managing traffic. It was a ton of fun to be a part of a team because a lot of times racing, especially wheel to wheel, can be very much like a me versus everyone else. I think ASM and our group does a fun job of kind of making it more of a team sport, but it like still once you're locked into the car, it's kind of you versus the world.
Yeah.
So I like the team aspect. So see some more like endurance stuff would be a lot of fun. Um, money no object when racing. I mean, I want to drive a like a proper GT3 car at some point.
Yeah.
Like the open wheel stuff is cool, extra fast, big downforce, whatever. But there's just something about a door slammer that like makes the right noise. Like a big Mercedes GT3 car would be so good. Like if you stand at the paddock at Kodo and like everything's like echoing off of each other, and one of those goes ripping by like up through the gears, it just sounds ridiculous. And they can stop way
Yeah.
too late. It makes no sense. Traction control saves them. They can power off of corners. Like just experience, like just driving that experience would be fantastic. So
Is
like
there like
racing's got to be a whole nother level.
is there like a marquee event that you're like, oh, someday that would be really cool to like even participate in?
I don't know. Like I would probably have a better answer after thinking about this for a bit. But maybe like Daytona, just because like the first iRacing enduro that I ever did was the Daytona 24,
Yeah.
and like to go from like virtual to do it in real life would be like kind of wild.
I think Tom's has
But
changed.
like
Tom's has changed over the years. Like me and
What I would
Tom,
do?
well, I've always said Bathurst. And then at one point, Tom, you were like, I don't know, Pikes Peak would be pretty cool or something along those lines, if I remember right.
I said Macau as well.
Yep.
I mean, money no object with
Good ch-
motorsports, I would do all of it. Like I would adventure around the world and do a little bit of everything to see what I really liked. But if I could only pick one, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't pick Pikes Peak. That's not long enough. I would want to get the best bang for my not buck,
maybe
which would
British
be
like
like
touring cars or something. It'd be so. Those guys are rowdy.
that would be fun. Also, there was this thing, I think I've told this story once. The guys from Yaz Motorsports who build the TCR Civics were at our race at Road America once. And like one of their head engineers was talking and he's like, "Yeah, the European guys are just like a second faster than everybody. They're just that good." And I was like, I was the only Honda contract driver. He was saying that directly to me. He met me because I was the Honda contract driver. And in the back of my head, I was like, I want to prove him wrong. But obviously, they don't get that chance.
I well,
I refuse to believe Europeans are just a second faster.
I mean, I know from iRacing, those Europeans are freaking wild, dude.
Yeah, but that's different. I don't think iRacing at that level is real.
They're so good. They're so fast. All those
They are.
Europeans. I would love to race in Europe. I think that's probably like like if you had to pick like a series, like GT3 Europe. And you're
Yeah.
like, cool. All right, I have an unlimited budget to like try to figure this out. Or probably actually what I think I would find more fun because it would be less like BOP and stuff like that is just Porsche Cup Europe. Like I think because that's so cutthroat, I would be like mid pack dead last, but like that climb would be like super enjoyable and like all the things that you would learn like being in such a competitive environment. Like yeah, I would love that. I would love the shit out of that.
I would want to try the little regional series too.
Yeah.
Like I would want to try. Remember, I said the French ice racing where they're in this like ice bowl and there's like a path carved through the ice and they race inside of it. Stuff like that. I want to try it all.
Like oddball stuff.
Where
Yeah, only
what were
because.
those?
Huh?
Remember the semi trucks that used to like race these
They
things?
still do that.
Like, yeah,
Yeah, they still
that.
race. I see
Oh
some really
no,
good racing videos from them.
that's not what I want. I wanted to copy this.
The semi
But
truck
like,
cabs.
yeah, like the big cab over things. Like I feel like that is just whenever you want to play iRacing, it's always, oh no, I don't have Discord Nitro, I can't paste it in. But like you want to do like the wild stuff. Like in my head, like that's what Tom wants to do. Is just go to like
I
race semi
do.
truck.
Tom, you
I
want to
think
race?
maybe part of it
Would you
is.
race a semi truck?
Of course, I would. I actually have a friend, Scott Dolahite, who has flown to Mexico and raced a couple races in the trucks, and he said it's crazy, but it's also like it's got a level of that like that circle track stuff in it, where like all the trucks are not created equal because they're semi trucks. So like he said, sometimes it's more like rental carts, where like one truck's just super fast in a straight line, others are super slow. But it sounds so fun. I would love to try that. And I think the reason is because I mean, the pursuance of excellence is awesome and everything, but like sometimes when you get into that rut, like my IMSA season in 2019, where like the end of the year, it's just not even fun anymore. The most fun I had that year was solo nationals and driving that rally pilot and other stuff because it's just like beating your head against this thing. That's where I'm like, maybe I don't want to do a whole season of GT3 in Europe. I would rather go to like Scandinavia and see something, and then go to Australia and see something regional, and go to France and see something, and like try the little different flavors of it before jumping in. That's what I would do.
I did just think of something that hasn't been mentioned, but rally, like
Mm,
a
that would be pretty
proper
cool.
WRC rally car. Like, I don't know if I want to do it with the trees all around, but like maybe out
Yeah.
like a sand dune or something would be cool.
It's something
Race of
like
Champions.
it's something that would be just
Yeah.
like endlessly rewarding. Like if you just had to pick like a series and just stick with that forever, rally would
Yeah.
be. I think that would be kind of hard to beat though, because like you could always do it a little bit better. It'd be like, like the reasons we all love NCM is like, oh, I left a little bit of time out there. Like you would never do a stage and be like, that was it. Like you would always be chasing more time. And then the next time you see it, like next year, you're like, okay, I've watched the video, I've studied it. I have me and my co-driver have went through these things. Like even then it's going to be a little different because it's in the wilderness. It's not like the track is going to be the same. So, and the adjustment to it, yeah, that'd be like the endless like lizard dopamine chase.
I wonder if you would get
A
the
lot of
same
fun.
dopamine from not ever running the same course, unless they do run the same courses year after year.
The stages are mostly, it's not like they're cutting new paths through the woods. Like they're
But I
mostly
think
the
they
same.
choose different sections of the road though.
Oh,
And they drive the car from like the end of the stage. Like they don't put it on a trailer. They have to drive that car to like the next starting point, don't they? I think that's how that series
They do.
works.
Yeah, but what am I thinking of? Because autocross is different every time, and we do that. So
yeah.
I
And
don't know.
like
Bad
specific parts
question.
of the site and stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like if it's a site you're familiar with, you're like, oh, this course is going over the bump. Got to have it straight before you go
Yeah,
over the bump. You know what I mean? Like you're going to have like the little
and
advantages like that.
the novice
Yep.
10 feet to your left is like walking through a flat parking lot, going bump.
Yeah, exactly. But
What are
you're
you
like, there's
talking
a
about?
bump
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
And then you don't have your co-driver go, Sammy, you're breaking the car. Sammy, listen to me.
Yeah,
You would.
please.
I would. I would definitely, my co-driver would definitely be yelling at me for breaking the car.
Wherever Sammy was driving is where you need to test your first WRC car. What, just in the plains where you can
Yeah,
do whatever you
there
need.
was nothing to
Yeah.
hit except bushes.
Goes off into a bush and just
Yeah.
keeps going.
Yeah, or like a giraffe.
So, all right, Matt, we gotta wrap up a little bit. Was there anything that you wanted to talk about while being on the
Do, do,
podcast?
do you still do the email section?
Uh,
You are our email today.
yeah, you
There,
are the
Don't you
email.
want to read your email?
Do you
yeah,
want
I
me
was
to?
gonna I was gonna share the email.
Oh,
Okay, go for it.
okay. Hold on. Email from Matt. Okay, we got this email from Matt. Do you want to send me a screenshot of it, Matt? Okay.
I just put it in the chat.
All right.
This may have been like the first. It could have been the first email to the
I think it was the
Blizzard
very
Branding
first
email
email
account
we
when we set
got.
it up.
It's from Matt Waldbaum. And the subject of the email is, "Can I be on the podcast?"
And I didn't even know how podcasts work, so I think I said in. I don't know if that was a typo or me just not understanding how podcasts work in 22.
So,
Well, Matt, congratulations. You finally made it in the podcast.
yep. And on July 29th, 2022, about 3 hours later, I replied to Matt, "Yes, you can be on the podcast."
And here we are.
And we're here. I told you you would be on the podcast at some point, Matt. I'm sorry it took 3 years,
So funny.
but we're
So
happy to
funny.
have you, and we need to make sure that we go to the same events. I don't have any Grid Life events on my calendar. Do you have any other events other than Grid Life on your calendar?
That's all I have on the calendar right now. Just the good life events.
Gotcha.
His
Okay.
car, unfortunately, is not completely like free
Accessible.
reign for him. No. He's like, he needs to go to where his car goes, and usually his
Or
car's on the trailer that goes to
or
Grid
I would
Life.
co-drive. I would co-drive something if like it was like TT
Yeah.
Nats or solo Nats. Like if I ended up in Nebraska for like Memorial Day or something, that's around spring Nats, could potentially be there,
Okay.
but no current plans.
All right. Well, we'll try to get you out to some autocross events or maybe time trial nationals. It's going to be at Pit Race this year. You feel like doing time trial nationals at Pit
Mm,
Race?
That's such a bummer. I like love NCM and like that was why that's what I had in my head when I thought TT Nats. Hearing it at Pit Race, kind of a little bit of a bummer.
They do have
You
like
gotta,
Pit Race, is
oh,
fun, but I just want to go back to NCM so bad. I've been jonesing.
they do have events at or at NCM this year. They're just not like the time trial nationals. They'll be basically the
Yeah.
same thing though.
But like
Well-
Time Trial Nationals brings out the friends, and
Yeah, it does.
True.
like,
Yeah.
being there alone.
That's why
would be
we got to
less-
plan this Loser Brains track day where we all just go to the same one.
Yeah, we'll go
One of these
to
years, we're
we'll
gonna
go to
make
Harris
City
Hill,
happen.
right next to Matt.
Oh, I
long
could
drive.
call Courtney over there. Yeah.
Oh, I was
Maybe.
kidding, but isn't that the one with the jumps in it, or did they repave it?
It's not jumps. It's not jumps. It's just bumpy.
A little bumpy.
Matt, what are you doing April 20th? He's pulling up the spreadsheet right now.
20 baby.
Getting high as hell. No.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
No. I have nothing on the calendar, but I leave for like San Francisco the following week,
Oh,
like that Tuesday.
Well,
but like
there-
nothing that weekend.
there's a couple of us, like me, Paul Darling, Ryan Kristoff. We're gonna be at Gingerman, just driving cars at a track day. If you come out, you can drive the FRS. I know how much you love SSC cars. So
He jumped out of his chair just now. I don't know if you
I
can hear
know
it.
he got so
He's running
excited. He's
already.
like,
He's
"What?
ready to
I can
pack."
drive a basically stock FRS. I can't wait for that."
Oh.
All right.
Do you think you can handle the outro, Matt?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. Don't you come up with like 3 things, and
No, you
I'm
just,
not gonna be able to handle. There's
yeah,
no way.
that's fine. You know what? We're just
You
gonna,
got to fill time and
yeah,
then
we're just gonna
you got
roll
to
it.
fill time and then love your hair. Hope you win at the drop.
You got this, man.
Say it again.
I'm
I
playing.
didn't hear what Tom said.
Oh, sorry, I covered it up.
I said you just got to fill some time and then you got to say love your hair. Hope you win at the drop for the music.
Okay. Hey, if you mess it up, it can't be worse than Randy Pope's. Okay, so just good luck.
Or me half the time. All right, you're
Oh.
going.
Hope everyone learns that spreadsheets are the best thing you can have to keep track of your racing life, your love life, your work life. Hope love your hair. Hope you win.